Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about power. We often talk about the power to achieve, to conquer, to overcome, but rarely do we speak about a different kind of power, a power often ignored, often underestimated, yet so profoundly transformative. It's the power to stop. Life is a journey. And while we're all so focused on going somewhere, doing something, achieving the next big goal, how many of us have stopped long enough to ask, am I even on the right path? Stopping to reflect is a practice that holds more power than most of us realize. We live in a world that glorifies constant motion, and success is often equated with how busy or productive we are. From the moment we wake up, our minds jump into action, checking emails, scrolling through feeds, making lists, and thinking about the next task before finishing the current. But in all of this movement, how often do we take a moment to pause and look inward? How often do we slow down long enough to understand our purpose and the true direction of our lives? Reflection requires intentionality. It's a pause that isn't about stopping everything permanently or giving up, but is about bringing ourselves back into alignment with who we are and what we truly want. When we stop to reflect, we're giving ourselves the gift of perspective. There's wisdom in realizing that not every action brings us closer to where we want to be. There's strength in stepping back and saying, is this path I'm on truly leading me to fulfillment? Or am I simply going through the motions? Often in our constant doing, we may not realize that we've drifted off course or that our daily actions are not aligned with our bigger purpose. It's as though we're walking through a fog and stopping to reflect clears that fog, letting us see the way forward with clarity. Stopping to reflect allows us to take stock of our values and reconnect with what matters most. We are influenced by so many voices, the expectations of family, friends, society, and our own inner critic. Reflection helps us separate what is truly ours from the noise of others. In that space of stillness, we begin to understand what we genuinely value. We can ask ourselves, what makes me feel alive? What am I willing to work for, even when it's difficult? Answering these questions from a place of quiet reflection can reshape our priorities, reminding us to focus on what matters and ignore what doesn't. Reflection is not just about the big picture questions, it's also about tuning into our daily lives. In our quest for success, we sometimes ignore what's right in front of us. We may be so focused on what we want to achieve that we lose sight of what we already have. When we stop and reflect, we can acknowledge the blessings that are already present. Gratitude becomes easier and we find ourselves more content and centered. We begin to appreciate the small moments that make life rich and worthwhile. It's easy to miss these moments when we're always moving, but in stillness, they reveal themselves to us. When we take time to reflect, we also confront parts of ourselves that need attention, areas we may have been avoiding. Stopping allows us to examine our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors without judgment. It's a courageous act to look inward and face our flaws and fears, but it's also deeply empowering. We realize that we have control over how we react to situations, over how we choose to live. In this space of reflection, we find the strength to make changes, to shed habits and beliefs that no longer serve us, and to cultivate a version of ourselves that is in harmony with our purpose. Reflection can even transform our relationships. By taking time to understand our own needs, we're better able to communicate and connect with others. When we know our values, we stop allowing toxic relationships to drain us. We set boundaries that honor our energy and time. We start to attract relationships that uplift and encourage us, relationships that align with the person we are becoming. Reflection is like a mirror that shows us not only who we are, but also who we are becoming. It's an opportunity to see whether we are proud of the path we're on or if there's something we need to change. Ultimately, stopping to reflect is about finding balance and peace. It's about no longer being a passive participant in life, but becoming someone who is truly engaged and intentional. The strength that comes from this practice is undeniable. When we take time to stop, we aren't wasting time, we're giving ourselves the chance to become more focused, to walk in alignment with purpose, and to live with integrity. Every time we pause to reflect, we take a step closer to a life that is meaningful, centered, and truly ours. Reclaiming control over our lives begins with a simple but powerful act, the decision to stop. We often associate control with forward movement, action, and assertiveness, but control also involves knowing when to pause and reassess. When we're constantly moving, responding to everything around us, it's easy to lose ourselves in the noise and expectations of others. Reclaiming control is not just about making decisions, it's about ensuring those decisions are aligned with our true intentions and values. When we choose to stop, even for a moment, we take back authority over our time, energy, and focus. We take back the power that external demands and distractions have over us. Every day we encounter countless influences competing for our attention: emails, messages, work obligations, social media, and the expectations of people around us. These demands pile up until we find ourselves reacting instead of living intentionally. But when we choose to stop, even briefly, we step back from the current of demands and regain perspective. Stopping is like hitting the reset button. It allows us to regain a sense of who we are and what we want. In this space, we can ask ourselves, am I making choices because they matter to me or because they're expected of me? This pause enables us to filter out the noise and make conscious choices about where we invest our time and energy. Reclaiming control is about directing our energy toward things that serve us rather than drain us. Often, we don't even realize how much of our time is consumed by things that add no value to our lives. We get caught in habits or routines that no longer serve us, but we stick with them simply because they're familiar. Stopping allows us to step back and assess which parts of our routine and habits are productive and which ones are just keeping us busy. When we reclaim control in this way, we stop expending energy on activities or people that drain us. We begin to make intentional choices about where we invest ourselves, directing our resources toward things that nourish our purpose and growth. When we stop to reclaim control, we also reclaim our ability to manage our emotions and thoughts. Many of us spend our days feeling hurried, stressed, or overwhelmed without ever stopping to understand why. When we're always moving, we get swept up in the emotions of the moment, reacting to situations without fully processing them. By stopping, we give ourselves a moment to breathe and examine our feelings to understand what is causing our stress or anxiety. This awareness helps us respond rather than react. We reclaim control over how we handle challenges and adversity, choosing to act from a place of calm and clarity rather than emotional impulse. Stopping also allows us to reconnect with our priorities. Life pulls us in many directions, and it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We find ourselves spending time on things that don't bring us joy or satisfaction simply because we feel obligated. When we stop, we create a moment to revisit our priorities and realign with them. We gain clarity about what we truly want to achieve and the legacy we want to build. This kind of focus is impossible when we're in constant motion, always attending to others' demands or superficial tasks. Stopping gives us the space to refocus, ensuring that our daily actions align with our long-term vision. Reclaiming control also involves recognizing that we have the right to make changes in our lives. Often we feel bound by commitments or expectations, thinking that we have no choice but to continue down the same path. But when we stop, we remind ourselves that we are in control of our choices. We have the power to change course, to say no, to set boundaries that protect our well-being. Stopping empowers us to take back control over the direction of our lives, reminding us that we don't have to be passive participants. We can choose to adjust, redefine, or completely change the path we're on. Finally, stopping to reclaim control brings a profound sense of freedom. When we constantly react to external pressures, we may feel trapped, like we're on a treadmill going nowhere. But when we pause, we realize that we have the power to step off that treadmill. We can choose a new direction, one that aligns with our true desires. This freedom comes from understanding that we are not beholden to the world's expectations. We have the authority to decide how we live and where we go. In this simple act of stopping, we unlock the power to shape our lives intentionally. It's a moment of reclaiming not only our time, but our identity, our purpose, and our peace. By taking control in these moments, we become the architects of our own lives, building a life rooted in authenticity, focus, and true fulfillment. The power of saying no is one of the most underrated skills in life. Often we think that success means saying yes to every opportunity, agreeing to every request, and taking on every responsibility that comes our way. But in reality, there is an immense strength and wisdom in knowing when to say no. When we say no, we're not only protecting our time and energy, we're asserting control over our lives. We are actively choosing where we want to invest ourselves rather than passively allowing others to make those decisions for us. Saying no is about setting boundaries that preserve our well-being, our purpose, and our priorities. In a world that often demands more than we can give, saying no becomes essential for maintaining balance. Many of us fall into the habit of overcommitting ourselves because we don't want to disappoint others. We fear that saying no will make us seem unkind, unhelpful, or less capable. But saying yes to everything can lead to burnout, stress, and resentment. When we agree to too much, we stretch ourselves thin, and our effectiveness and focus suffer. Instead of giving our best to a few important tasks, we end up giving a little bit of ourselves to many unimportant ones. By saying no, we give ourselves permission to conserve our energy and direct it toward what truly matters. Saying no also protects our time. Time is our most valuable resource. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. Every yes we give to one commitment is a no to something else, often something more meaningful. When we say yes to obligations that don't align with our priorities, we are essentially giving away chunks of our life that could be spent on things that bring us joy, growth, or peace. Saying no means reclaiming those precious moments for ourselves, for our loved ones, or for activities that nurture our passions and goals. It allows us to structure our lives in a way that aligns with what we truly value. The power of saying no also lies in its ability to clarify our focus. When we choose to say no, we create space to concentrate on our goals and ambitions. Life is full of distractions, and if we're not careful, we can easily lose sight of what we set out to accomplish. Saying no to the unnecessary opens the door to focus on the necessary. It's an act of commitment to our goals. Rather than scattering our energy across various obligations, we can channel it toward fewer pursuits, but with greater intensity and purpose. This focus is what drives progress and success in any endeavor. Saying no also plays a key role in maintaining healthy relationships. Often people are afraid to say no because they don't want to let others down. However, when we constantly say yes, we risk building relationships based on obligation rather than mutual respect. We may end up feeling resentful toward those who make demands on our time, even if they're unaware of the toll it takes on us. Saying no, on the other hand, encourages respect and understanding. It shows others that we value our time and that we are clear about our boundaries. Those who truly respect and care for us will understand, and relationships grounded in respect are far healthier and more fulfilling. Learning to say no is also a way to develop self-respect and self-confidence. When we make a decision to say no, we are standing up for our values, our goals, and our well-being. It takes courage to say no, especially if it goes against what others expect from us. But each time we do, we affirm our commitment to living a life that aligns with our true desires. This builds a sense of confidence in our ability to make choices that serve our best interests. Rather than feeling guilty for declining, we feel empowered, knowing that we're acting in alignment with our values. Another powerful aspect of saying no is that it encourages personal growth. When we're not constantly overwhelmed with commitments, we have the mental and emotional bandwidth to explore new ideas, pursue our passions, and work on self-improvement. By saying no to what doesn't serve us, we create space to say yes to what does. This intentional choice opens doors to learning, creativity, and personal fulfillment that we might not have had the time or energy to pursue otherwise. Finally, saying no frees us from the pressure of perfectionism. Many of us have an internal need to be everything to everyone, believing that this is the only way to be valuable or worthy. But saying no is a reminder that we don't have to meet everyone's expectations to be valuable. We are allowed to prioritize our needs, to set limits, and to pursue our own dreams without guilt. In saying no, we are, in essence, giving ourselves permission to be human. The power of saying no is transformative. It allows us to build a life filled with purpose, balance, and fulfillment by understanding that no is not a rejection, but a choice. We take control of our time, our energy, and our priorities. We become free to create a life that reflects who we are and what we truly care about, standing firm in the knowledge that every no is ultimately a powerful yes to ourselves. Breaking cycles and letting go of bad habits is one of the most empowering steps we can take to create a fulfilling, purposeful life. We all have cycles in our lives, patterns of behavior, ways of thinking, and routines that, whether we realize it or not, shape our experiences and outcomes. Some of these cycles are beneficial, pushing us toward growth and success, but others hold us back, trapping us in patterns that lead to frustration, regret, and dissatisfaction. Breaking these limiting cycles isn't easy, but it's essential if we want to reclaim our power and live intentionally. It begins with the courage to stop, assess, and confront these patterns head on. Often we develop cycles and habits as coping mechanisms. They help us deal with stress, fear, or insecurity, and at one time they may have served a purpose. But over time, these patterns become automatic, running in the background without us even realizing it. The problem is that these habits can become self-defeating, undermining our growth and well-being. Maybe it's a cycle of procrastination, putting off important tasks until it's too late. Perhaps it's a pattern of self-doubt that prevents us from pursuing opportunities. Or maybe it's a routine of avoidance, dodging difficult conversations or situations because they make us uncomfortable. Whatever the cycle, breaking free begins with awareness and a willingness to confront it. Stopping to examine these cycles allows us to see the root causes of our behavior. Many of us carry unexamined beliefs about ourselves, beliefs that we may have internalized long ago, but that continue to affect us today. We might believe consciously or unconsciously that we aren't good enough, smart enough, or deserving of success. These beliefs drive cycles of self-sabotage, manifesting as procrastination, fear of failure, or an unwillingness to try. By stopping and looking inward, we gain insight into these hidden beliefs and how they shape our actions. This awareness is the first step to breaking the cycle. It's only when we recognize what's holding us back that we can begin to make changes. Breaking cycles also involves taking responsibility for our actions. It's easy to blame circumstances, other people, or even bad luck for the situations we find ourselves in. But when we take responsibility, we recognize that while we can't control everything, we can control everything. We can control how we respond. When we acknowledge our role in perpetuating these cycles, we empower ourselves to make different choices. We become active participants in our own lives rather than passive victims of habit. This shift from blame to responsibility is transformative. It's a declaration that we have the power to choose differently and that we are capable of creating new positive patterns. The process of breaking cycles requires intentional action. Awareness and responsibility are essential, but they must be followed by consistent effort to replace old patterns with new, healthier ones. This isn't easy. Habits are deeply ingrained, and breaking them takes time and patience. But by taking small steps, we start to weaken the grip of old habits and establish new ones. For instance, if we have a habit of avoiding difficult tasks, we can practice facing them head on, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Over time, this practice builds resilience and confidence, allowing us to approach challenges without fear or avoidance. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to break the cycle. One powerful way to replace old cycles is by setting clear intentions and goals. When we have a clear sense of where we want to go and who we want to become, we can create habits that support these intentions. Instead of mindlessly repeating old behaviors, we start to act with purpose. Each time we choose to take a step toward our goals, we reinforce new positive patterns. Over time, these actions compound, transforming our lives and pushing us closer to our potential. Our lives begin to reflect our aspirations rather than our limitations. Breaking cycles also has a profound effect on our relationships. Often, negative cycles spill over into our interactions with others, creating tension, misunderstandings, or even resentment. We may find ourselves drawn to relationships that mirror our own unexamined patterns, such as seeking validation from others because we haven't learned to value ourselves. By breaking these cycles within ourselves, we not only improve our own lives, but also positively impact our connections with others. We become more self-assured, more capable of setting healthy boundaries, and more open to building relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. Finally, breaking cycles and letting go of bad habits is a path to self-respect and freedom. When we stop living on autopilot, we become intentional architects of our own lives. We stop settling for less than we deserve, and we stop allowing old patterns to dictate our future. This is the essence of empowerment, the ability to live a life that reflects our true values, free from the limitations of past cycles and habits. Each time we break free from a cycle, we reclaim a piece of ourselves. We unlock potential we didn't know we had, and we create space for growth, joy, and fulfillment. Breaking cycles isn't an overnight process, and it's not without challenges. But every effort, every moment of courage brings us closer to a life of intentionality and purpose. As we shed these old patterns, we find ourselves becoming stronger, more resilient, and more connected to who we truly are. We discover that we are not defined by our habits, our past, or our limitations, but by our capacity to choose to grow and create a life aligned with our deepest aspirations. This is the power of breaking cycles. It allows us to rewrite our story, transforming our lives one choice at a time. Taking time for self-care and restoration is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In today's fast-paced, always-on world, the concept of pausing for self-care can seem indulgent or even selfish. But the truth is, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't give our best to anything or anyone else. Self-care is about more than pampering or relaxation. It's about recharging our energy, protecting our mental health, and fortifying our physical resilience. When we make time to restore ourselves, we cultivate the strength to face life's challenges with clarity, focus, and patience. Self-care is the foundation upon which all other aspects of our lives can flourish. At its core, self-care is about honoring our needs. Every person has physical, emotional, and mental needs that require attention and care, but too often we push these aside in favor of productivity. We convince ourselves that our worth is tied to our ability to produce or achieve, and we wear busyness like a badge of honor. However, this mindset is unsustainable and harmful. Ignoring our needs leads to burnout, irritability, and a lack of fulfillment. When we prioritize self-care, we acknowledge that our well-being is valuable, and we allow ourselves the space to rest, heal, and rejuvenate. This isn't about escaping responsibilities, but about equipping ourselves to handle them more effectively. Self-care involves listening to our bodies and understanding what they need. This could mean getting enough sleep, eating nourishing food, exercising, or taking breaks when we feel drained. Our bodies are finely tuned to signal when they need rest or care, but we often ignore these cues, pushing ourselves beyond our limits. By honoring these signals, we prevent fatigue and illness, and we keep ourselves strong and healthy. Taking care of our physical well-being doesn't just improve our health, it also boosts our mental resilience. When we feel physically strong and energized, we are better able to tackle challenges and cope with stress. Restoration is also crucial for our mental health. The mind, just like the body, needs regular breaks to function at its best. We live in a culture that values constant connectivity and information overload, but this can leave us feeling overwhelmed and anxious. When we take time to unplug, we give our minds a chance to reset and recharge. Activities like meditation, journaling, or even simply sitting quietly can have profound effects on our mental state. These practices help us process our thoughts, reduce stress, and gain clarity. When we come back to our work or responsibilities after these moments of restoration, we're able to approach them with a clearer mind and a calmer heart. Self-care also encompasses nurturing our emotional health. Emotions are powerful forces that affect every aspect of our lives, from our decisions to our relationships. When we neglect our emotional well-being, we may experience mood swings, increased stress, or even a sense of disconnection from ourselves and others. Taking time to acknowledge our emotions, process them, and work through any challenges we're facing is essential for emotional balance. This might mean talking to a friend, practicing self-compassion, or seeking professional support if needed. When we take care of our emotional health, we are more stable and present, and we're better able to handle whatever life throws our way. Another critical part of self-care is setting boundaries. Often we overextend ourselves because we feel obligated to meet others' expectations or demands, but saying yes to everyone else can leave us depleted with little energy for ourselves. By setting boundaries, we protect our time and energy, ensuring that we have the space to focus on our own needs. Boundaries are not about isolation, they're about creating healthy limits that allow us to give our best to the things that truly matter. When we establish boundaries, we create a safe space for self-care to thrive, and we prevent ourselves from becoming overwhelmed or resentful. Making time for self-care also enhances our relationships. When we are well-rested, emotionally balanced, and mentally clear, we bring a better version of ourselves to our interactions with others. We are more patient, more understanding, and more capable of giving support without feeling drained. Self-care allows us to be fully present with the people we care about, strengthening our connections and deepening our relationships. It's a simple truth: when we take care of ourselves, we have more to give to others. Self-care and restoration are also essential for fostering creativity and growth. When we're constantly on the go, we rarely have the time or mental space to explore new ideas or pursue personal interests. Taking time for self-care provides us with the freedom to engage in activities that inspire us, whether that's reading, painting, hiking, or anything else that brings joy and fulfillment. These moments of inspiration are not just a break from our routine, they fuel our creativity, helping us approach our work and lives with fresh perspectives and renewed enthusiasm. Self-care nurtures the spark within us, the part of us that dreams, creates, and imagines. Ultimately, self-care and restoration remind us of our own worth. When we make time to care for ourselves, we reinforce the idea that we are valuable, deserving of care, and worthy of attention. This self-respect permeates every aspect of our lives, boosting our confidence and empowering us to make choices that align with our true desires. Self-care isn't selfish, it's an act of self-respect and self-love. It's a statement to ourselves that we matter, that we are worth investing in, and that our well-being is non-negotiable. In a world that often values productivity over wellness, taking time for self-care and restoration is a revolutionary act. It's a commitment to living a balanced, fulfilling life, one where we can give our best without sacrificing our health or happiness. Self-care allows us to bring our whole selves into every moment, fully present, fully alive, and fully capable of achieving our dreams. Living with intention and aligning actions with values is a powerful way to bring meaning and fulfillment into our lives. In the hustle and bustle of daily routines, it's easy to fall into patterns when we go through the motions without much thought. We may spend hours working, meeting obligations, and handling responsibilities, but if we're not careful, we can find ourselves moving further away from what genuinely matters to us. Living with intention means making a conscious choice to act in ways that reflect our core values, beliefs, and goals. This approach not only brings clarity and direction, but also provides a deep sense of satisfaction and purpose. Living with intention starts with understanding our values. Many of us may think we know what we stand for, but until we take the time to examine our beliefs, we might not have a clear picture. Values are the fundamental principles that guide our lives, like honesty, kindness, growth, family, or personal freedom. Each person's values are unique, shaped by their experiences and beliefs. When we take time to identify and define our values, we gain a roadmap for decision making. This clarity allows us to prioritize actions and decisions that are aligned with what truly matters to us. Instead of following the crowd or succumbing to societal expectations, we can make choices that reflect our authentic selves. Aligning our actions with our values requires honesty and self-awareness. It's not always easy to live in alignment, especially when life is filled with pressures and demands. There are moments when we might feel pulled in different directions, tempted to compromise on our principles for convenience or approval. But living intentionally requires that we stay true to ourselves, even when it's difficult. It means asking ourselves, does this decision reflect who I am and what I believe in, and being willing to adjust course if it doesn't? Over time, this practice of aligning actions with values builds a sense of integrity and self-respect. We become more grounded, more confident, and more at peace with ourselves. One of the greatest benefits of living with intention is that it reduces stress and uncertainty. When we are clear about our values, we can let go of the constant need for external validation. We stop worrying about meeting everyone else's expectations because we're focused on meeting our own. This doesn't mean we stop caring about others, but it does mean that we prioritize what truly resonates with us. This shift can be incredibly liberating, as it allows us to live from a place of authenticity rather than approval seeking. Decisions become easier because we know what we stand for, and we can move forward with confidence and purpose. Living intentionally also fosters resilience. When we encounter challenges or setbacks, having a strong sense of purpose and alignment helps us navigate them with grace. We're less likely to feel lost or discouraged because we're anchored in our values. For example, if family is a core value, even difficult days can be endured with a sense of fulfillment when we know our actions support that value. Similarly, if growth and learning are central to who we are, challenges become opportunities rather than obstacles. This alignment provides a stable foundation that allows us to persevere, adapt, and overcome challenges without losing sight of what's most important to us. Intentional living also improves our relationships. When we are clear about our values, we attract people who resonate with those values. We become more selective about the company we keep and the relationships we invest in, choosing connections that support our growth and reflect mutual respect. This clarity can also lead to healthier boundaries, as we're better able to say no to situations or relationships that don't align with our intentions. By cultivating relationships that align with our values, we create a support system that reinforces our goals and helps us stay true to ourselves. We find that our relationships become more meaningful as they are based on shared principles and mutual respect. Another powerful aspect of intentional living is the sense of fulfillment it brings. When our actions align with our values, we experience a deep sense of satisfaction that goes beyond surface-level accomplishments. Success isn't measured solely by achievements or accolades. It's measured by the alignment between who we are and how we live. Each day, no matter what we accomplish, brings a sense of peace and contentment because we know we're living authentically. This fulfillment can't be bought or faked. It comes from the knowledge that we're living in harmony with our true selves. Intentional living also inspires us to pursue our passions and dreams. When we are clear about what we want and what matters to us, we feel empowered to take risks and pursue the things that bring us joy. We're no longer held back by fear of failure or judgment because we know that the journey itself is meaningful. Each step we take is aligned with our values, which makes the process as fulfilling as the outcome. Pursuing our passions becomes less about achieving specific results and more about honoring our true desires. This shift allows us to experience a profound sense of joy and freedom as we are no longer limited by external expectations. Living with intention and aligning actions with values ultimately leads to a legacy we can be proud of. Every choice we make, every action we take becomes part of the impact we leave on the world. When we live in alignment with our values, we inspire others to do the same. Our lives become a reflection of our beliefs, and we contribute positively to the lives of those around us. This legacy is not about fame or recognition. It's about knowing that we lived a life true to ourselves, a life that reflects the values and principles we hold dear. By living intentionally, we not only create a meaningful life for ourselves, but also inspire others to pursue their own path with purpose and authenticity. Each day becomes an opportunity to reflect our values, to make choices that align with our goals, and to build a life of fulfillment and purpose. Living with intention is the ultimate act of self-respect and empowerment, allowing us to create a life that is uniquely and authentically ours. In conclusion, the power to stop is within each of us, a profound force that can shape our lives and steer us toward fulfillment and purpose. By embracing the courage to pause, we allow ourselves to evaluate where we are and decide if it aligns with where we want to go. We break free from old cycles, release habits that no longer serve us, and take the time to restore and care for ourselves. This intentional approach gives us clarity and resilience, grounding us in our values and enabling us to move forward with purpose. When we live with intention, every action becomes a reflection of who we truly are. We no longer waste time on what's unimportant or settle for a life that's out of alignment with our values. Instead, we set boundaries, nurture meaningful relationships, and pursue goals that resonate with our authentic selves. This journey isn't always easy, but it's one of profound empowerment. By choosing to stop, reflect, and live intentionally, we create lives of deeper joy, resilience, and fulfillment, a legacy we can be proud of. The power to stop is the power to change, to grow, and to live a life that's uniquely and beautifully our own. No excuses. That's the mantra we need to carry if we want to break through limitations, silence self-doubt, and live to our fullest potential. Excuses are easy. They give us a comfortable way out, a reason to stay in our comfort zones. But they also keep us stuck, holding us back from our dreams, goals, and the life we're capable of achieving. Embracing a no excuses mindset means taking full responsibility for our lives, actions, and outcomes. It means refusing to let fear, inconvenience, or difficulty stand in the way of our purpose. When we adopt a no excuses mindset, we move from waiting to creating, from hoping to doing. Challenges will arise, setbacks will happen, but each time we have a choice. We can let excuses stop us, or we can find a way forward, using every obstacle as a stepping stone to growth. No excuses means we're no longer blaming circumstances or waiting for the perfect moment. Instead, we're focused, committed, and relentless in pursuing our goals. It's about resilience, discipline, and belief in our own ability to overcome. We may not control everything, but we always control how we respond, how we push forward, and how much effort we're willing to give. So let go of the reasons why it can't happen and focus on how it will happen. No more reasons why, not only reasons why.
That keeps us remind us that it's that well the relentless drives is what keeps up every morning. We are going to talk about reaching a life that truly matters. And the first two step is if learning visions is the foundation. Individual direct us get start understand what we see. Keep you moving when nothing seems certain, when objects and when the doubts is that unwavering of where you and it doesn't water visions. It is borderless to have visions meant to be. It's about looking imagine a future that may not excite it. It's personal. Other may not see at their is encourage.